Good morning, everybody. Gosh, I love you guys. You guys are the best. You have no idea what it feels like to be able to wake up every morning and be greeted by all my family and friends who are on YouTube. And I know you guys feel the same about each other and coming here. It's just a blessing. It makes us not feel so alone in this world. And gosh, what a blessing. Anyway, it's back to Coffee Talk headlines. And more creepy presidents reading books to school children. We're also going to show you some Ozark projects, some new projects. You know, sometimes I look back and I'm like, wow, how did I get all that done? And so I've learned to document everything because I know some of you are interested in that. And so I want to make sure that I document all that. And also it helps me take stock about, how far I'm progressing with the property and all that. So I got some brand new projects to show you guys. But first, let's dig into this presidential ritual going all the way back to Bush Sr., Reagan. We're going to look at Trump. This bizarre ritual of reading books to school children. And we've done 2 or 3 videos on this already. I wasn't expecting to go down a rabbit hole like this. But, as they say, something's wrong. What we noticed was a bizarre pattern of almost all either white children or all black children that these presidents are reading to. There's never a mix of the two. In this particular instance, the entire classroom are white children. Now, we're going to dig into what this means. It's probably not going to mean what you think it means. So I can't wait to talk to you guys about all this. But what I can tell you is that we have another confirmed 9/11 ritual before it happened in this George Bush Sr. in him reading this book in 1991 to these school children. What was the date? September 3rd. 119 days left in the year is when he read this book to these children. Of course, 119 is 9/11 backwards. Now, there's much more to this. You can't make this case with just that information. But the fact that this reading was done in a place called the Twin Cities, Lewiston, Auburn. And this is up in Maine. We're going to break this down. We're going to look at these schools from Google Earth. You're not even going to believe what I'm going to show you. And this goes all the way back to George Bush Sr. commemorating this event 28 years after it happened. Yes, he sent out a tweet 28 years after. Here it is. The former students who hadn't thought of that day in 28 years. A tweet on Tuesday by George H.W. Bush Presidential Library brought those memories rushing back. And there is the picture. So what is the significance of the 28 years? Well, obviously, it's about the 28 total years that the Twin Towers stood from 1973 to 2001. Now, I want to be clear here because a lot of people focus on the 33 years of the Twin Towers. And yes, when they began construction in 1968 to 2001, that is 33 years. But understand that both of those dates are important. 1968 and 1973, when they actually opened. Because 1973 was the Hebrew year 33. So it's almost as if they knew from the groundbreaking of the Twin Towers that they would only last 33 years. In the actual Hebrew date of 1973, which was, the Hebrew date was 5733. Now, if you're new to this channel, understand that none of these numbers that I'm talking about are a stretch. If you're not good at math or numbers, it's a very good idea to write down this stuff and look at it in summary on a piece of paper. Because what the skeptics will say is nothing to see here, move along. It's just a bunch of numbers and gobbledygook. And because the attention span of modern people is very, very, very short, they will believe the troll and move on. Nothing to see here, move along. But when you write these things down on a piece of paper, and I would recommend doing this for each show if you're new. It doesn't have to be a long piece of paper. We're just talking about 10 or 20 facts that you can write down and compare that to each day's show. And you'll see that it's impossible for a person to just pull these numbers out of thin air. That they relate one to another. And once you see the pattern of the matrix, that's when you begin to understand what's really, really happening here. Now, there's more. Because even the halfway point to 9/11, which would have been the 14th year, remember they lasted for 28 years. Even the halfway point is mentioned in these articles. In this clip here, in the 14-minute film, Barbara and George Bush appear at 7 minutes 45 seconds of the film, so they appear literally halfway within the halfway. 28 years, 14-minute film, and then Bush appearing halfway in the 14-minute film. Now, Bush even mentions World War II in this article. Apparently, him and Barbara were there in this place where he went to the school in Lewiston during World War II. And of course, that brings back memories of Pearl Harbor, which we know has been connected in infamy to 9/11. Now, how could this be? Well, I dug a little bit deeper because I was like, there's more to this story than meets the eye. Here's the book that Bush was reading. It's called The Little Mouse, the Red Ripe Strawberry, and the Big Hungry Bear. And it released on 6/1, which was the Hebrew year that the Twin Towers fell in 2001. That was the Hebrew year 5761. So here we have 6/1. Now, there's more. Because there's another numerical connection to this story. And other synchronicities. Now, I've dug into this book a little bit. 1984, of course, that was a pivotal year. The year that George Orwell talked about. The thought police and all that stuff. It's happening now. Now, let's dig into this whole white children, black children scenario. Because you never see the two mix. On the day that Bush Sr. went to this school to read that book, he also went to the high school afterwards, and he gave a speech. Here's the high school here. Let me find it. Wait, what's that? Oh. Gosh, that's weird. Oh, that's an ad. Okay. So, first, he went to the elementary school, as you see on their screen, with 119 days left in the year. Then, he went to the high school, and he gave a speech. Here is the speech from 1991. And I looked into the audience. And I was like, there's not a single black person at this high school. I'll put a link to this. You can look for yourself. I zoomed in. There's not a single black person at this high school. And I was like, let me dig into this. And I wasn't going to report on this because I don't like to get into too much of the racial aspects unless it's a productive conversation, and we'll get into that conversation today. But the entire bleachers at this high school that he spoke at, there was not one black child. Now, I decided to go into Google Earth and find this high school. Lewiston High School. Now, for those of you that live in Maine, you probably know where this high school is. and I looked at the high school from the air, and it reminded me of something. Now I wanted to do an older image of it, an older satellite image, so you can know that this was likely the shape of the high school when Bush Sr. spoke at it in 1991. I went as far back as I could. I think it took me back to 1997, which was close enough. Here's the modern version of the school. And I want you to tell me what you see. Let me go back into the chat so people know that we're not losing our minds. Now, even at this point in the rabbit hole, I wasn't going to report on this. I was like, well, there's got to be more information. You can't just say something unless you have a good case, right? So, what are you looking at on the screen? And then I'll give you the answer, but I want to see what you guys come up with as to what you're looking at on your screen. So let this chat catch up. Again, I looked through the entire bleachers of the high school, and I did not see one black person. Now, I graduated from an all-white high school, Lodi High School. And guess what? I graduated the year that Bush Sr. was in that classroom in 1991. That's when I graduated high school. And it was about the whitest school you can imagine in the 90s. And even my graduating class, there was 200 of us, just over 200 of us in our graduating class. Even we had 5 to 10 black students, including myself. What do you guys see there? And it's a symbol. I'll give you that clue because I know it's early. It's a symbol. And then I'll show you what the symbol is. It is a variation on the Tickaswass, we'll say. I have to say everything backwards on this channel. Tickaswass. And as soon as we identify what this thing is, then I'll give you guys the full answer and also tell you, what else is going on with this area and this town. You got to remember, these presidents have entire, supporting staff telling them exactly where to go, what to do. They research everything. They research the town to make sure it's safe before president rolls into town, because they know that these places that they go will become part of their legacy, don't they? Don't they? Absolutely they do. So they must have researched this town and this high school. Now, let's take a look. Ready for this? Let me show the image again. The black and white one is a little bit easier to look at here because it's like more defined. And now I'm going to show you what this is. It's called the Othala. And there it is right here. Let me show it to you and then show you the image next to it. And as you can see, it's an exact match. Now, what is the Othala? Well, unfortunately, this is a neo-Yahtzee symbol. Now, it's used for other things, but I'm going to give you some more evidence as to what this is all about so you can understand what we're dealing with here. Again, this is the shape of the high school from Google Earth, and it seems to line up with this known symbol used as a patch on the neo-Yahtzee uniforms and modern Yahtzees. And I'm saying that funny because you have to say it funny. We all know what Yahtzee is. It's a game you play, but it's also something else that rhymes with it. Now, let's keep looking here, because you can't just say that, because it could have just been some chance, right? It could have just been all by chance that the shape of this high school was this, right? But then I found out that there is an element there, a modern element. 20 people in this particular instance that walked right into the park in Lewiston, Maine, that were from this Yahtzee group. When did they show up? Well, it was October 4th with 88 days left in the year, which is a known Yahtzee number, because 88 is H and H, which stands for Bette Midler, rhymes with Bette Midler. So, there's an element here. And nearby in Maine, there's actually a compound. Land that's been used for training. And the town allowed them to show up there. And it's from the National Social Club 131 is the name of the group. And they went to the park not far from the high school. Here they are, standing there. Now, what does all this mean? Well, we're going to talk about that. But first, this symbol is also related to the Omega symbol. Let me find it here in Wikipedia page. It's related to the Omega symbol. We've talked all about this. It's the false Apollo, the false Alpha and Omega. And it's related to the opal or the Othala symbol. So, what else is going on? Let's talk about my views on racism, because it's probably not what you expect as a black person. I want to be clear. I watched a YouTube comedian named Cassidy Campbell. Many of you know who he is. Very popular. Millions and millions of followers. And a lot of his videos go viral. Millions of views. And he just did a skit on Middle America where he walked up to people in Walmart and he pretended to be a racist. And his opening line was that he moved to that town because when he went into Walmart, he did not see any black people there. Now, interestingly, many of you will remember that I shared the same exact story that happened to me in real life a couple of years ago about a neighbor who drove to my house. Did not even realize I was black. And since then, we've become good friends. He even took me hunting on his own property, which many of you know is kind of a rite of passage of friends, to share your land with someone else. And yes, some people still have negative feelings toward people of other races, and Cassidy Campbell proved it by posing as a racially insensitive person and getting others to go along with the slander. So we know that that happens, okay? We cannot deny that that happens. But, and here's the big but, to me, that's not racism. I truly believe that people are entitled to have their own feelings about people of other races and shouldn't be shamed for that. Now, is that being a good Christian? No. Is that something that could stop you from getting in heaven because you're not following the commandment of loving others as yourself? Obviously. But how do you think my neighbor and I became such great friends after he said that to me? It's because I met him where he was at. And I proved his feelings were wrong through love and acceptance. At least between him and myself. That's where it starts. It starts between one and two people. To break down barriers. Bridging the color barrier. Now, I believe true racism is very rare. When one man can impose his ideas onto another man's life, impeding him from advancing in life, either through violence, theft, or taking away opportunities because of color. That would be true racism. And I don't believe that that really exists anymore on our level, between me and you. Because I've never experienced it. In fact, I've experienced just the opposite. The people that I was told growing up that were supposed to be the most racist are actually the least racist people. Middle America. Godly people. They're accepting, they're generous, and they don't see color. Do they sometimes say racially insensitive things? Yeah. But they're not standing in my way. Now, let me give you some examples. We've talked a little bit about this. You guys know I don't celebrate holidays, but every year I have multiple offers to join neighbors just from my very street here. Dozens of people dropping off bags of holiday goodies. People I don't even know. I don't even know who to thank, because that's how generous and gracious they are. I've never experienced this kind of love ever in my life, and they're all white. So I think we've pretty much proven the myths wrong, correct? Now, what we're talking about here with Bush Sr. is a whole different level, okay? This isn't what we're talking about in terms of racial, discussions on our level. This is a satanic racism. The elite level. It's the laugh in your face, hiding in plain sight, human sacrifice through war, and bloodline ethnic cleansing that the average man on our level, between you and I, could never even perpetuate something like this in an entire lifetime. That's the difference. And if you don't believe me, understand this. Okay, so someone could say, okay, well, Casey, okay, all white children in high school, yeah, there's all white high schools, and okay, you found the symbol in the high school, all that could be an accident. Okay, I agree with you. That could all be an accident, and that's until you hear stuff like this.
And last night, I tell you, to watch that thing on television, as I did,
Yeah.
to see those monkeys from those African countries, damn them, they're still uncomfortable wearing shoes.
Of course, that is the famed Ronald Reagan and Nixon tapes. Ronald Reagan calling Africans monkeys who don't even feel comfortable wearing shoes.
Well, and then the tail wags the dog there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
The tail wags the dog.
Do you need to hear more?
I, for example, just had a call from Reagan, California, and he's been out there and so forth, and as you can imagine, there's strong feeling that we just shouldn't. As he said, he saw these cannibals on television last night, and he said they weren't even wearing shoes, and he says here the United States is going to submit its fate to that, and so forth.
So that's how they really feel. And this should concern everybody, not just black people, okay? And, of course, those were the Reagan tapes uncovered long after he died. This just came out 3 or 4 years ago. Many people haven't even heard these tapes because it's kind of downplayed by the media, but they are real. And I couldn't even believe that the controllers would allow these tapes to leak, but it shows you that at the top, what people with real power really think of black people. And this is why so many black people were hesitant about taking the poker. And yes, Reagan did visit elementary schools during his presidency. Again, they were either all black classrooms or all white classrooms. Here's an all white classroom he visited, and here's an all black classroom he visited. And as you can see, a white president can pretend to love black children and visit 100 black schools, but his own words reveal his true feelings. And again, I don't worry so much about my peers who may share Reagan's feelings about black people being monkeys that don't even wear shoes. But it's the people in power that you should watch out for. And that should concern white and black people, because what you have here is a flip-flopping. You have saying one thing, doing another. Because his words don't even really upset me the way that you think that they might. What upsets me is the two-facedness of this. The lie that everybody believes and votes for. And both races should be concerned about that because you don't know what you're getting. You have no idea what you're really getting. Wow. Now, understand though that liberal presidents feel the exact same way. They just pretend to be on the side of people of color so that they can weaponize race to combine it with other liberal issues such as abortion and the gay agenda and the continued moral erosion of our society. So they lump the race issue with that, and that's how they get traction, right? Even though the two have absolutely nothing to do with each other. So, there is a creepy ritual going on, isn't there? Here's Nancy with all black children. His wife. Now, many of you asked me to look at some other presidents. Trump. And yes, Trump read a book to preschoolers. Now, this was before he was elected in 1993. I'm sorry, 2003. He also read, or he went into another elementary school in 2016 before he became president. But he never read to elementary school students during his presidency. So this was from 2003. And it looks like there's a lot of children of color, but it's hard to kind of tell. There might be a few white children in there. I don't know. The school he read at was, does it say here? April 2nd, 2003. It just says preschoolers. Okay, this was at part of Starbucks' 6th annual All Books for Children book drive. Okay, so maybe this one was not at a school. But here's a younger Donald Trump. And what did he read in this 2003 reading? Another book about cookies. Remember Obama read a few days ago about Black Santa eating a cookie? In that video we showed you from a couple days ago? Well, here's another story about eating cookies. Now, interestingly, this story was also read by Michelle Obama. On different occasions, I looked up the book. It's actually a popular book. If You Give a Mouse a Cookie. These are rituals on some level. Now, here's what's interesting. Even though Trump did not read a children's book in a school during his presidency, there was a controversy about a children's book during his presidency. Let's watch this video of him. This is him entering the school in 2016. Again, this was before he became president.
Yes, we're working hard. Does everybody love school?
Looks like there's one black child in this classroom, for as far as I can see.
Who's the best student?
It says school is for
Everybody.
Maybe two black children.
Mr. Trump, we have a gift for you. Ebony, would you come on over here? A special gift. It's very important to us.
Okay, this classroom seems to be a bit more integrated. So looks like maybe 3 black children out of, which is about what the national average is, right?
Because it's the foundation of our school.
And you can see this child is very uncomfortable. I mean, I'm sure she's nervous or whatever. But here's where he was presented a gift. And there's something about the Bible here too. Let's play this through. You can't really hear what she's saying, but Trump goes to kiss her on the cheek.
Let's go ahead and stand up and pledge to the Bible.
Pledge to the Bible. Okay, so I don't know what gift that was. I don't know if it was a Bible, but then she says, let's pledge to the Bible. Now, what is this controversial book that made the headlines during the Trump presidency? Well, it was a book about Donald Trump for school children, in which it celebrated Trump in the book, and it was apparently read in classrooms across America, which of course pushed the divide. It caused a lot of controversy, and eventually it was removed from print. Scholastic was the one who published the book originally, and they caught a lot of heat for publishing it. And so there was a poem in there about him building buildings reaching into the sky and businesses that grew. Then Trump became our president. People wanted something new, and the liberals went nuts. They couldn't believe this book was being read to school children and printed by Scholastic. So that is what's going on with the bizarre rituals. And I wonder if this is about division, because that's the trend here. We got black and white children, which matches up with the Masonic black and white checkerboard floors. You got white presidents reading to black children reading to white president. It's unbelievable. There's something here, isn't there? It's very weird. But that about wraps it up on my investigation into these presidents reading books in these classroom rituals. Now I want to get you guys caught up on the most recent projects at the Honey Milk Ranch over the last few days. And then after that, we're going to get into some of these headlines. Kim Kardashian hanging out with Ivanka Trump and all that. We'll do that after I show you guys the Honey Milk Ranch. Here we go. Let's watch. Hey guys, I wanted to share a couple of cool projects I've been working on. I enclosed this pump. I made this little house for this pump because it gets kind of loud. So I figure if you put it in a box, it'll be quieter. So when spring comes, I'll be able to use that pump and the stored water in these tanks to, save a little bit on water. Also got all these benches screwed down. They were a little bit wonky. When Cheryl and Jay came over, I was a little bit concerned. I didn't want Jay to fall off the back here, so I screwed all these down with some long screws right into the deck. So they're pretty solid. They're not going anywhere. They're just in there good. I also made this little table here because if I'm, people are over or whatever, I could be over here doing prep work, getting everything ready. It's also a good place to put any food, like if we're making s'mores or something, we can put them right on here. So I just threw together this little side table, and we'll be able to access this from over here. This is the best way to access this because it's flattest. So you just walk in through here. Now I got a nice safe fire put area. The reason why there have to be chairs all the way around is because you never know which direction the smoke's going to blow, and you want to be able to get up and move around. I also screwed down this board. I stuck a board underneath and screwed it flat so there's nothing to catch there so people don't trip. Let's see, what else is going on over here? Well, I got the famed bucket, my mouse bucket. Somehow the mice, I don't know how, and I'm not going to go drive myself insane trying to find where the hole is. There's a hole somewhere. I mean, it could even be right here. Mice can get up under anything. That's probably where they're getting in. Maybe I'll stuff something in there. Basically, you get a 5-gallon bucket, and they have this top that goes on here. They can walk up the little ramp, and when they go to get the bait that's in the lid, they fall into the bucket. So I put some baits in there, some seeds, and other things. I don't want mice under my house. It's a hazard. It's a health hazard. They can also begin to want to chew into the house. So you got multiple issues going on when you have mice around. So, try to get this shored up as best as possible. That could be where they're getting in. And I'll take care of that. What else? Well, a lot going on at the Honey Milk Ranch. There's always stuff to do. This cabinet was super loud. It was rattling. So I took it out and I built this cabinet out of pressure treated wood. And this thing is now completely silent. So these are projects you can do yourself. I just threw this together. As you can see, it's nothing fancy. It actually looks a little bit better than the metal cabinet, I feel like. So the metal cabinet did not go to waste. I'm using it for storage. So here's the metal cabinet here. And of course, plenty of storage space. At some point, whoever uses this room, whether it be a guest room or whatever, if this cabinet rattles too, then I'll need to build another smaller cabinet out of wood that will be completely silent. So that's what I've been working on. That's the update. Lots and lots of birds everywhere. I don't know, they're just getting fattened up. There's something in this ground that they love. They're scratching around and stuff. So always stuff to be done. Always. Some of this grass is coming in. Some of this winter wheat, as you can see, it's starting to fill in here. Finally, it helped thicken all this up. I'm excited about that. All right, you guys, have a good one. All right, so there's the update on the Honey Milk Ranch. Let's get into some of these headlines today. Good morning, everybody. Let me say good morning before we get into Kim Kardashian hanging out with Ivanka Trump. You know, these people know exactly what they're doing. Okay, this isn't any surprise. We know these people are into, blood facials, and Kim Kardashian is now has an acting career where she starred in the most recent American Horror Story, where she essentially plays like a witch who has something to do with altering this woman's pregnancy to turn her baby into a demon. I mean, why would any president's children be hanging out with a person like that? To say that they don't know is, living with your head in the ground. Because these people have political aspirations, don't they? And they're not going to align themselves with certain people that they think might hold them back from those political aspirations. So if they're aligning with the most evil of us, you guys, hanging out with Kim Kardashian is like hanging out with Marina Abramovich. But there are still people in this world who will run cover for these things. I couldn't even believe this. This just randomly popped up in my feed. Kim Kardashian and Ivanka Trump spend the time together at Justin Timberlake's Fontainebleau, whatever, Vegas show. Now, Justin Timberlake is a known handler. Britney Spears, that whole thing, known handler. He's definitely high up there in the ranks. Okay, because a person like that would not make it in Hollywood. And I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but I think the only thing I can remember about Justin Timberlake that was even remotely resembled any kind of talent was his ability to mimic Michael Jackson, and a million people know how to do that, okay? You don't need to, be able to dance like Michael Jackson to be famous. But he was just how did he make it? Well, obviously he had connections. There was obviously something in the bloodline that wanted him to rise to the top, and of course, he was Britney Spears' handler. Let's read through this. Kim Kardashian and Ivanka Trump were in attendance at the grand opening in Vegas. Surprise performance by Justin Timberlake. Viva Las Vegas. And here's the picture of the two of them. Kim Kardashian just makes me cringe. She just makes me cringe. It's always a great time with you, Kim Kardashian, the former president's daughter, wrote on Instagram story post of the two of them at the grand opening. Before the concert, Trump was escorted down the red carpet by entrepreneur David Grutman. Trump sat with Kardashian and Kendall Jenner during the show. So if you had any questions, this is where everything's headed. I almost feel like this is a judgment. I almost feel like this is judgment for God's people who still continue to believe the lie and who are willing to give up their moral standards and still vote even though they know the person's evil, just to beat the Democrats because they're still stuck in the right-left paradigm. I feel like this is a judgment and a test. And you see this. You see how many people are still deceived by all this when you go out into the general world and you see how much support Trump still has. It's just unbelievable. Now, I got a cute cat video and some other stuff to show you guys before we end the show. Science is now admitting that they are increased animal attacks. It's now being scientifically recognized. They're blaming it on the pandemic, but they are saying dog bites are on the rise. Now, we called this before it happened. I told you this was happening because we got our finger on the pulse of the news, and Holy Spirit told me that this is happening. And now they're admitting it. They can't shy away from it because it's becoming so prevalent. Now let's see what they have to say as to why this is happening. Okay. The pandemic seems to have triggered an uptick in dog bites, some of them disfiguring, a few of them fatal. Multiple studies point to a rise in U.S. emergency room visits for canine bites since the start of COVID-19. Now, this is concerning, and I'll tell you why. Because we made the connection between I Am Legend, the whole zombie apocalypse movie, and rabies, didn't we? And remember, in that movie, there was a dog. It was Will Smith's dog who got bitten by the zombies and went rabid and crazy and turned into a zombie dog. So, it's all manifesting, isn't it? So we weren't crazy. I heard every excuse in the book. Oh, Casey, it's just because we're encroaching on their habitat. Those are cover stories to hide something much deeper. Now, what is the exact cause? I don't know. But I can tell you there's something different about the wildlife. Let's keep reading. Britain, too, has seen a surge in dog bites, an upward trend that began before the pandemic and may continue beyond it. Researchers and dog experts can only guess at the reasons, so they don't even know. We know, though. Book of Revelation says that animals will turn, or it says beasts will turn on people and kill them. One likely factor is the wave of pandemic pet adoptions, which put dogs in millions of homes that hadn't had them before. That's hogwash. Another is COVID lockdowns, which put humans and dogs in close quarters for months on end. That's hogwash. A third is of viral pet videos encouraging human-dog staring contests and close-ups of dogs. That's hogwash. Wow. Accounts of canine aggression have even emanated from the White House. So they're talking about the German Shepherd who bit the Secret Service officer. Here are the dog attacks. Fatal dog attacks on the rise. And there's the graph. Now, we're talking, these are fatal attacks. There are only 25 in 2016, and now there's 80. So those are small numbers, just to give fair balance to all this. But it tells you a bit of the story, doesn't it? Dogs are also turning on other dogs. Dog fights aren't new, but a recent dog-on-dog attack on Manhattan's Upper East Side made a section of the New York Times. German Shepherd named Sicko. Oh, Sicko, the German Shepherd, wow. Reportedly mauled a toy poodle outside a French bookstore. So, dog attacks are on the rise, and science is now having to recognize it after possibly trying to downplay it initially. This story broke back in August of 23. Wow. Now, what else is going on? Well, California now wants to use toilet water and turn it back into tap water, literally drowning in their own feces. Now, many of you, when we mentioned this on a couple shows ago, you said many cities are doing this now. I think Austin, Texas, someone mentioned. Also in the UK, they're using toilet water. But now it's happening in California, and I believe this is a sign of the times. This is the swamp. Some Californians could find themselves flushing a future drinking water source down their commodes in just a few years' time, pending the approval of long-awaited but misnamed toilet-to-tap rules next week. They're considering a landmark proposal to streamline direct potable reuse, a process by which purified wastewater is discharged right into public water system or just upstream from the treatment plant. Notice the acronym here: direct potable reuse, deeper, DPR, deeper, like the pit, in the deeper pit. It's a real important step for just adding to the portfolio that we can use here in the West. Wow. So, we're not draining the swamp anymore. We're filling it up. This story broke on December 16th out of the Hill, 2023. Now, I want to end the show on a positive note. I got a kick out of this cat video. For those of you that like cats, they put a camera on this cat. This is so cute. This is so cute. Look at this. Whoa. That's awesome. I don't know about you guys. I think that's awesome. No, I love cats. A cat cam. How neat is that? Anyway, I know a lot of you guys are cat people. Let's see, who are our cat people in the chat today? Obviously, Rebecca's a cat person. April, I know, is a cat person. Love cats. Just always been a cat lover. Kitty Cam. Yeah. All right. So what's going on, you guys? Where are the rest of our cat lovers? Cat ladies. Cool. Jamie's a cat people. I love dogs too, but I'm more like a small dog. I like the smaller dogs. Cheryl and Jay have adorable dogs. I always enjoy when they come over, or I go over there and we play with the dogs. They're little dogs taking a kind of a liking to me. Just adorable. We had two. My aunt has 3 cats now. Ted has 4 dogs and 7 cats. Oh, goodness. Yeah, dogs are a little bit easier to travel with. Yeah, Edie is just so adorable, Cheryl. I love little Edie. I think she loves me too. She always pees when she sees me. She like starts peeing with excitement. Some are allergic. You know, I used to be allergic to cats. Isn't that weird? I believe that all those allergies and all that stuff, I think, come from things that they don't tell us they come from, right? I believe that they're about the pokers. But try proving that, you know, like I can tell you as I've gotten older, and I haven't had those in a long time, all of a sudden I don't have allergies anymore. I used to be allergic to everything, and now I just love cats. I don't have any allergies at all. All right. Okay, you guys. Well, tomorrow we are going to be getting into, we're going to look at 2023 in totality and see if things we were talking about in 2022 actually happened in 2023. So that show tomorrow will mostly be just me talking to you, and we'll be in the chat and talking about taking stock of what we said in 2022 that we thought would happen in 2023, and we'll see if it really happened. And I was shocked when I went back and looked through my 2022 videos, all the live shows, I went through every single one. I found that we were very accurate about what was going to happen in 2023. So we're going to review that. Now, the last time we did this, well, the year before last, we did a video in 2021 doing this very same thing, and YouTube took it down. Got a strike. They took it down actually pretty quickly, because the question I asked was, were our predictions about the spam-demic accurate? That was the question we asked then about the year prior, and they were absolutely right over the target. YouTube took that video down, but it's up on Odyssey. So we'll be careful tomorrow. I don't want to catch a strike or anything, because we're mostly topics won't be talking about, the pandemic. We're not going to be talking about that as much, because that's kind of come and passed, hasn't it? But we'll be talking about all the other things that we've been looking at. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.